One day at work, a man notices that his usually conservative male coworker, Bob, is wearing an earring. Curious about this unexpected fashion choice, he says, "Hey Bob, I didn't know you were into earrings." Bob shifts uncomfortably and replies, "Oh yeah, sure." "Really?" the man asks. "How long have you been wearing it?" Bob sighs and says, "Ever since my wife found it in our bed." One dot, 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 dot. An elderly couple was driving across the country when the wife, who was behind the wheel, got pulled over by a highway patrol officer. The officer walked up to the car and said, "Ma'am, did you know you were speeding?" The woman, hard of hearing, turned to her husband and asked, "What did he say?" The old man yelled, "He says you were speeding." The patrolman sighed and asked, "May I see your license?" Again, the woman turned to her husband. "What did he say?" The old man yelled, "He wants to see your license." She dug into her purse and handed over her license. The officer glanced at it and smirked. "Ah, Arkansas. I spent some time there once, went on a blind date with the ugliest woman I've ever seen." The woman turned to her husband once more. "What did he say?" Without missing a beat, the old man yelled, "He said he knows you." Two dots. Tom was a single guy living at home with his father and working in the family business. When he found out he was going to inherit a fortune once his sickly father died, he decided he needed a wife with which to share his fortune. One evening at an investment meeting, he spotted the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Her natural beauty took his breath away. "I may look like just an ordinary man," he said to her, "but in just a few years, my father will die, and I'll inherit $20 million. Impressed, the woman obtained his business card. 3 days later, she became his stepmother. Women are so much better at estate planning than men. 3 dots. A man was sued by a man for defamation of character. He charged that she had called him a pig. She was found guilty and fined. After the trial, she asked the judge, "Does this mean I cannot call Mr. Johnson a pig?" The judge said that was true. "Does this mean I cannot call a pig Mr. Johnson?" asked the woman. The judge replied that she could indeed call a pig Mr. Johnson with no fear of being charged with a crime. The woman turned, looked directly at Mr. Johnson and said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson." A police officer pulled over a car for speeding and approached the driver's side window. Officer, "Sir, may I see your driver's license?" Driver, "I don't have one." Got suspended after my 5th DUI. The officer narrowed his eyes. Not good. Officer, "All right. Can I see the registration for this vehicle?" Driver, "Not my car." "I stole it." The officer stiffened. This just got worse. Officer, "You're telling me this car is stolen?" Driver, "Yep. But now that you mention it, I think I saw the owner's registration in the glove box, right next to my gun." Officer, "There's a gun in the glove box?" Driver, "Yes, sir. That's where I put it after I shot the woman who owns this car and stuffed her in the trunk." The officer backed away, slowly, and immediately called for backup. Within minutes, multiple squad cars arrived, lights flashing. The captain himself stepped out, approaching cautiously. Captain, "Sir, may I see your license?" The driver shrugged and handed it over. It was valid. Captain, "And this car, who does it belong to?" Driver, "Me, of course. Here's the registration." The captain examined the papers. Everything checked out. Captain, "Would you mind opening the glove box? We were told there's a gun in there." Driver, "Sure, but there's no gun." The officer opened the glove box. Empty. Captain, "All right. Now can you pop the trunk?" The driver compiled. The trunk swung open, completely empty, no sign of a body. The captain turned to his officer, arms crossed. "I don't get it." This officer said, "You told him you didn't have a license, stole the car, had a gun in the glove box, and a body in the trunk." The driver shook his head and smirked. Driver: "Yeah, and I bet the liar told you I was speeding too." Bob had a reputation for enjoying his evenings a little too much, and this night was no exception. He staggered home late, careful not to wake his peacefully sleeping wife as he slipped into bed. Little did he know, the night would take a turn that no amount of caution could prevent. When morning came, Bob wasn't greeted by the warm comfort of his bedroom. Instead, he found himself standing before the grand, glowing pearly gates. "Am I dreaming?" he muttered, rubbing his eyes. Before him stood St. Peter, clipboard in hand and an expression of gentle solemnity. "Bob, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you passed away in your sleep," St. Peter said with a sympathetic nod. Bob's eyes widened in disbelief. "No, this can't be happening. I'm not ready. I've got so much to do, so much to live for." St. Peter, moved by Bob's desperate plea, paused thoughtfully before offering an unusual alternative. "Well, there is one way to go back," he said, "but it comes with a catch. You'd have to return as a chicken." 6 dots. A man walks into a bar and orders a glass of 21-year-old whiskey. He takes a sip, then immediately spits it out. "I asked for a 21-year-old whiskey. This is only 18 years. I'm not paying for this. Bring me a 12-year-old cognac instead." The bartender complies, but again, the man spits it out. "This is only 10 years old. I'm not paying for that either." Frustrated after several rounds of the same routine, the bartender pours another drink and says, "This one's on the house." The man takes a sip, spits it out once more. "This tastes like piss." The bartender sighs and replies, "All right, genius, now guess how old I am." 7 dots. A bright, ambitious young executive had just been appointed as the CEO of a major tech firm. On his first day, his predecessor, a seasoned leader with years of experience, met with him privately and handed him 3 sealed envelopes, numbered 1 through 3. "When you find yourself in trouble and don't know what to do, open these, one at a time," the outgoing CEO advised before walking away. At first, things went smoothly. The company was thriving, profits were strong, and morale was high. But 6 months into his tenure, sales suddenly plummeted. Customers were leaving, the board was restless, and pressure was mounting. Desperate for guidance, the young CEO remembered the envelopes. He opened the first one. "Blame your predecessor." So he did, tactfully. At a press conference, he acknowledged the challenges, but pointed to past decisions that had led to the downturn. The board, the media, and investors responded favorably. Stock prices recovered, and the crisis was averted. A year later, the company hit another rough patch. Product delays, operational inefficiencies, and another dip in sales. This time, the CEO didn't hesitate. He opened the second envelope. "Reorganize." Without delay, he announced a major restructuring, bringing in fresh leadership, reshuffling teams, and streamlining operations. The bold move worked. The company bounced back, profits soared, and the CEO was once again praised for his decisive action. But success was fleeting. After another period of prosperity, the company faced its biggest challenge yet, a crisis that threatened its very future. Feeling the weight of the moment, the CEO retreated to his office, shut the door, and reached for the final envelope. He took a deep breath and opened it. Inside, a short message read, "Prepare 3 envelopes." Yet to little Johnny and Susie, both 5 years old, were playing house when they decided it was time to get married. Determined to make it official, little Johnny approached Susie's dad to ask for her hand in marriage. Susie's dad, amused, played along. "And where do you plan to live?" he asked. Johnny thought for a moment and confidently replied, "I'll just move into Susie's room. There's plenty of space for both of us." "And how will you support yourselves?" Susie's dad inquired. "Well," Johnny explained, "I get a $5 allowance every week, and so does Susie. That should be enough." Now, growing a bit exasperated, Susie's dad decided to challenge him further. "But what if little ones come along?" Johnny shrugged and said with a grin, "Well, we've been lucky so far." 9 dots. An 80-year-old Texas rancher goes to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester for a checkup. The doctor is amazed at what good shape the guy is in and asks, "How do you stay in such great physical condition?" "I'm from Texas, and in my spare time I like to hunt and fish," says the old guy. "And that's why I'm in such good shape. I'm up well before daylight riding herd and mending fences, and when I'm not doing that, I'm out hunting or fishing. In the evening, I have a beer and all is well." "Well," says the doctor, "I'm sure that helps, but there's got to be more to it. How old was your father when he died?" "Who said my father's dead?" The doctor is amazed. "You mean you're 80 years old and your father's still alive? How old is he?" "He's 100 years old," says the old Texan. "In fact, he worked with and hunted with me this morning. And then we went to the Topless Bar for a while and had some beer, and that's why he's still alive. He's a Texas rancher, and he's a hunter and fisherman too." "Well," the doctor says, "that's great, but I'm sure there's more to it than that. How about your father's father? How old was he when he died?" "Who said my grandpa's dead?" Stunned, the doctor asks, "You mean you're 80 years old and your grandfather's still alive?" "He's 118 years old," says the man. The doctor is getting frustrated at this point. "So, I guess he went hunting with you this morning too?" "No, Grandpa couldn't go this morning because he's getting married today." At this point, the doctor is close to losing it. Getting married. Why would a 118-year-old guy want to get married? Who said he wanted to? A big city lawyer was representing the railroad in a lawsuit filed by an old rancher. The rancher's prize bull was missing from the section through which the railroad passed. The rancher only wanted to be paid the fair value of the bull. The case was scheduled to be tried before the Justice of the Peace in the back room of the general store. The attorney for the railroad immediately cornered the rancher and tried to get him to settle out of court. The lawyer did his best selling job, and finally the rancher agreed to take half of what he was asking. After the rancher had signed the release and took the check, the young lawyer couldn't resist gloating a little over his success, telling the rancher, "You know, I hate to tell you this, old man, but I put one over on you in there. I couldn't have won the case. The engineer was asleep, and the fireman was in the caboose when the train went through your ranch that morning. I didn't have one witness to put on the stand. I bluffed you." The old rancher replied, "Well, I'll tell you, young feller, I was a little worried about winning that case myself because that bull came home this morning." When Monday morning rolled around, the classroom buzzed with excitement as students eagerly shared their weekend sales stories. The assignment was simple, yet challenging. Sell something over the weekend and deliver a presentation on effective salesmanship. Little Sally kicked things off with confidence. "I sold Girl Scout cookies and made $30. She shared proudly. "My approach was to appeal to people's sense of community spirit, which I believe led to my success." The teacher smiled and nodded. "Very good, Sally." Next up was little Jenny. "I sold magazines," she said, beaming. "I made $45 by explaining how magazines keep people informed about current events." "Excellent work, Jenny," said the teacher, clearly impressed. Finally, it was little Johnny's turn. Known for his unpredictability, He strolled to the front of the room and emptied a box filled to the brim with cash onto the teacher's desk. "I made $2,467, Johnny declared with a grin. The teacher gasped. $2,467? What in the world were you selling? "Toothbrushes," Johnny replied nonchalantly. "Toothbrushes?" echoed the teacher in disbelief. "How could you sell that many toothbrushes?" Johnny leaned in, ready to explain. "I found the busiest corner in town and set up a dip and chip stand. I offered everyone a free sample. As soon as they tried it, they all said the same thing. This tastes like dog crap." The classroom erupted in laughter, but Johnny wasn't done. "Then I'd say, 'It is dog crap. Want to buy a toothbrush?' And they did, every single time." Stunned but curious, the teacher asked, "Where did you get the idea for this strategy?" Johnny grinned wider. "I just followed the government's approach. Give people something crappy for free and make them pay to fix the problem." The room exploded in laughter, and even the teacher couldn't help but crack a smile. Why Johnny's strategy worked. Johnny's unconventional sales tactic teaches a surprising lesson in problem-solving and innovation. By creating an immediate need for his product, he tapped into basic human psychology, offering a solution to an urgent problem. While unorthodox and a bit messy, Johnny's story demonstrates the importance of thinking outside the box in sales and marketing. It's a playful reminder that sometimes humor and ingenuity can turn an ordinary task into extraordinary success.